Hello folks, my name is Mark, this is Why I Hate the World, how you guys doing? Today we're talking about Christine Weston Chandler. If you don't know who this is, it's Chris Chan. If you have ever paid attention to, internet culture, you probably have run across that name before. It's someone who, basically is a victim of quite possibly the world's longest running and, in my opinion, worst trolling and stalking campaign. I guess that's Chris Chan, right? And the story of Chris Chan is incredibly long and complicated, and there's really no way that one video can detail everything or even give 10% of the story. If you really want to know about Chris Chan and what it's all about and how all the events that led up to what's going on with her today, there's a multi-part documentary by a guy named Gino, which is up on YouTube. I think it's at part 57 or some shit like that. 1 hour documentaries, right? Of everything that's happening. There's also an entire wiki dedicated to Chris Chan and everything, every little aspect of this person's life. Everything. So a very, very, very brief, condensed version of who Chris Chan is, right? Chris Chan is a person who, a trans woman, by the way, right? Let's get that out, but more on that later, because it's not as simple. Nothing is as simple as that exists within Chris Chan lore, okay? So, anyway, but Chris Chan is a trans woman, right? Who, at a young age, created an original character, an OC, by combining Pikachu and Sonic the Hedgehog together into, Sonichu, right? And it was done for a school project or something when Chris Chan was in grade school or some shit like that, right? And years later, Chris Chan created a webcomic, which, the thing is, Chris Chan's artistic ability never really progressed past child's, right? Crayons and pencils and stuff like that is what we're talking about. It really does look like something a 9-year-old would draw. But, the thing about it is that, so that's mainly the main thing that Chris Chan is known for, is for creating Sonichu, right? And right around 2007, 2008, right around then, some users on 4chan discovered them. And, one thing led to another, and before you knew it, this army of trolls was just basically fucking with them. Fucking with Chris Chan, just over and over and over. And the reason why is because Chris Chan is autistic, a high-functioning autistic. And, has high-functioning autism, right? And doesn't seem to have the ability to be able to tell when people are lying to her, right? She doesn't seem to understand when people are bullshitting. So back then, Chris Chan identified as male, right? And the driving force behind Chris Chan's life was to get a girlfriend, right? Because this person was obviously lonely. And so at the very beginning of all of it, Chris Chan went on what's called the love quest. And so Chris Chan's life is divided into sagas. And so you have the love quest saga, and then you have all of these other, whatever, right? And what it was is that I guess he at the time, right, because at this time he was identified as male, right, created a sign that said, I want a boyfriend-free girl, right? And the reason why he put, at the time, right, the reason why he put boyfriend-free girl on this sign was because, Chris Chan believed that all of the women out there had boyfriends, because when a girl doesn't want to, be your girlfriend, what do you say? I have a boyfriend already, right? That's what you say, right, ladies, when there's a guy that you want to let him down nicely. So he heard that over and over and over again, and that's, so he puts this on his sign. And and they were at their local, she was at her local community college, and the dean of the local community college kicked him out for harassing women with this sign, right? And apparently, even way back then, Christian was very touchy-feely and didn't really understand personal boundaries. Keep in mind, this person is autistic, neurotypical, so, that how much of that is attributed to autism and how much of that is attributed to just being a creep, you don't really know. I mean, I guess the thing is, there are plenty of people out there with autism that understand how to keep their hands to themselves, right? So, that's relevant. That'll come into the story later on. Okay. So, yeah, one thing kind of led to another, and people on the internet, it started on 4chan, I believe, and then they actually created a forum called Quickie Farms, which now has, for the express purpose of trolling Christian and documenting everything they could about Christian and finding everything they could possibly find out about Christian and putting it on the internet, right? Everything, his home address, all the videos he would put up, right? And then it didn't take long for people to start trolling him and getting him to do stuff, emailing him, pretending to be women who were interested in him, and getting him to do ridiculous things, right? And so Christian would go and do things like drive multiple states away to go meet a woman that he believed was someone that was interested in him because of a troll, right? He would do stuff like that, or at the time he was a he, sorry. I don't mean to be dead, misgendering Christian, right? But at the time, he identified as male and was after, he was after some female companionship, right? So, lots of stuff like that, and it was just, the thing is, it was like, Christian would fall for the same tricks over and over and over and over again. And the trolls would get her to do, more and more elaborate things, where eventually they convinced Christian to send out nudes. They convinced him to have sex with a blow-up doll and film it and put it on the internet, right? All ridiculous things like this. They convinced him to, so what it was is that Christian had a little medallion of his main character, Sonichu, right? That he made a webcomic out of, right? And it was made out of Crayola model magic, so we're not talking high quality artwork here. And it looks like something that a child made, and they convinced Christian to shove this in his butt, right? Like, to insert things into his anus. Like, this is, and the thing is, Christian would do it. Christian would do it because, this person doesn't possess the ability to understand when people are leading them on, when people are lying, right? And is it, it's very obvious from reading back. If you go through the wiki and just do a cursory glance to the wiki, or if you watch this 59-part documentary, which if you're interested, watch the documentary. It's actually very good. But I warn you, if you don't, get out now if you don't want to know, right? If you don't want to get stuck in a giant rabbit hole, get out now, right? But anyway, it's obvious. It's obvious that Christian, has like the mind of a child, right? And just has problems identifying fantasy from reality, And as the years go by, it gets more and more elaborate and weird, where it's to the, where he believed that the dean of the community college that stopped his love quest, that took away his sign and kicked him off the community college, right? Because he was harassing women. They believed that this woman was like a Power Rangers villain, right? And he made this woman the main enemy in his webcomic, stuff like that, right? And then eventually, he started to do things like listen to like binaural beats and believe that was giving him superpowers and that kind of thing. And as the years go on, it just gets more and more ridiculous. Christian believed that he could curse people by doing a I'd rip off Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha wave at people over the internet, and then bad stuff would happen to them, right? Chris, they believed that their dog died. And when their dog died, their soul went to, Quickieville, right? So Christian used to put up videos of his town that he made in Animal Crossing, which he named Quickville. Quickville became the main town in his webcomic where Sonichu lived. And it sort of degenerated to the point where Christian started to believe that Quickville was a real place and it was in another dimension, right? And right now, up until this latest fiasco, Christian was promoting the idea that the dimension of his town, right, his town that started off as a town in Animal Crossing, where his OCs live, was going to merge with our dimension, right? And all of us were going to merge with our OCs or whatnot, and and Christian would have superpowers and shit like that. This is what Christian believes, right? And the thing is, it all comes from trolls. All of this stuff comes from people trolling him, people trolling her now, sorry. Right. And, even down to the idea that Christian is trans, right? Because Christian, back in the past, was notoriously homophobic. And also notoriously racist, not a rapist. Sorry, Freudian slip there. That becomes relevant later also. Notoriously racist, and even just a little bit anti-Semitic as well, Christian really did not like gay people, actually was very also anti-trans, right, transphobic as well. And somebody, a troll, basically convinced her that she was really trans, and so Christian went with it and is now a trans woman. This is the depths of to where this person is susceptible to suggestion. Okay. Now, here's the thing, right? Does that mean that Christian is not a legitimate trans woman, right? Because a lot of people, there's a big debate in, they call these people Christorians, is who they call themselves, right? The followers, the people who follow this shit. There's a big debate as to whether or not it's relevant, if you should bother sticking to the right pronouns that Christian wants. Christine now, instead of Chris. They call her Christine, but Christine refers to herself as Christian still. So that's like her internet handle, Christian, right? And I guess, Chris could be short for Christine as well, so that fits. So that's why I'm referring to her as Christian. And there's a debate anyway. There's a debate whether or not, Christian is deserving of the respect that comes with keeping to the proper pronouns, right? And especially in light of what recently happened, because leading up to the big surprise here, Christian has been raping his 80-year-old mother. That's the big unveil. That's the big reason why everybody is, searching for this person. Why Christian is trending on Twitter for like 3 days straight. Why there's like people making YouTube videos left and right while I'm bothering to make a YouTube video about this. That's the reason why. It's because this saga of this mentally a neurotypical person who's been the victim of all of this trolling and all of this stuff for years, for like 15 years, has resulted in this horrific ending. Right, where, an old woman with dementia is being abused. And as of this morning, Christian just got arrested and is now in jail. And is probably going to end up in prison. And this is, if you go on Quickie Farms, they're talking about the prison saga now. And now there's a big debate over whether or not should Christian go to prison or should Christian go to a mental hospital. Stuff like that. The thing is, it's like, so that's the first thing. The first debate is like, is she deserving of the respect that somebody would stick to her pronouns because, she's a fucking rapist, right? And I don't know if I can answer this. The first, this is one I guess, important question, right? Christiane only became trans because somebody convinced her to become trans, but she embraced it. She took the medicine, and the hormones and stuff like that, and started to develop, right? Christiane never got bottom surgery, but it's also very, you know, not that easy. Christiane actually performed self-surgery, cut her taint open, and was meditating and believed that she was growing a vagina. Right? And there's pictures of this wound in her taint and people were telling her, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. And it was like she believed that through meditation that she was transforming her body. So this is somebody who is, if, and you hate to say that people with, high functioning autism are insane, mentally ill. Christiane is mentally ill, on top of the autism, right? Christiane cannot understand the consequences of her actions. She cannot, right? And whether that's due to just whether that comes from just the autism that she already had, or whether that comes from 15 years of people fucking with her, right? Taking advantage of this person who has a tenuous grasp on reality or not. It really doesn't matter, right? The truth is that Christiane really cannot, it should not, I don't believe myself, is capable of understanding, basically right from wrong. I don't think so. And the thing is, there are some people on the forums who would debate that and would say, well, no, Christiane obviously knows it's wrong because she tried to hide it. And it's true. This thing with the mother, she actually did try to hide it. She tried to hide it. They say that's evidence that she knew it was wrong. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm not a psychologist. I can't make that decision. I can say that looking at the pattern, looking at the pattern of this person's life over the last 15 years, because we have so much documentation on it, right? You just see the same pattern over and over and over again. Somebody trolls Christiane, gets her to do something ridiculous, and then another person comes on and tries to outdo that person and try to get her to do something even more and more ridiculous. And it's all the way to the point where it's like, at first it's harmless little pranks, they're setting her up for dates for people that never show up, stuff like that. There was one really elaborate prank where this girl went on a date with them, and then a guy showed up in a pickle suit and ran up and stole the date and all this other things, or they would convince her that they were like their girlfriends and blah blah blah, and then there was this really elaborate saga with a guy named Clyde Cash who said that he stole his girlfriend and then raped her and then married her and blah 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 and all this shit, right? And it was just like, but through it all you can see Christiane does not understand, cannot put two and two together, cannot understand when people are lying to her, and does not understand that if she does something bad, she's going to be held accountable. Another example comes to mind, right? When a Sonic the Hedgehog game came out, roughly, 10 years ago or so, where the color of Sonic's arms were like blue. Christiane couldn't handle that, and tried to create this movement to get Sega to turn the arms of Sonic the Hedgehog back to tan or whatever. And Christiane went into a GameStop and started putting photoshopped covers on all of the Sonic games with Sonic's arms being the right color, right? This is like the kind of behavior that you get from autistic people who they don't like change. They see something that upsets them and they can't handle it, right? And this ended up with Christiane actually macing the owner of the manager of the GameStop and trying to run him over, right? And Christiane got arrested for that and had to face some legal, got fined, I think, didn't actually serve any jail time, I don't think, And it was like stuff like that, you know, like, so this is like, no sane person would have done what Christian did in that situation. You know what I mean? No sane person would have gone into a GameStop. And it's like, this person has the mind of a child, right? And the thing is that, you know, the reason why, what everybody is not talking about, right? They're talking about, you know, all the horrible things that are happening right now, you know, and the incest and all that shit. They're not talking about how it got this way. And it got this way because this person has, you know, basically been taken advantage of for 15 years. What do you think happens to somebody who already has, you know, mental problems, right? You know, is neurotypical and can't tell right from wrong, can't understand when people are lying to him. What do you think what happens after a decade and a half of trolls just continuously fucking with him over and over and over? Can you imagine? You know, I don't even think Christian herself understands the depth to which the organized trolling goes, right? Like, go read those, you know, if you're interested, check out the forums now. It's incredible how much information is in there about herself, about her education, about, you know, her parents, her brother, where they live, right? Items in the background and on the videos. You know, Christiane collects a lot of toys, and it's like, you know, kind of like, if you see her videos, they're just toys all over the fucking place, and they're not organized on shelves like my toys. It's just thrown around everywhere, you know. Like, there are articles on where individual toys came from and what they mean to them and all that, you know, and it's just like, it's ridiculous that and then you read about all the things they convinced him to do. You know, somebody, you know, Christiane believes that she's the reincarnation of a CPU goddess, right, from the Commodore 64 GS, which is a game system version of the Commodore 64 computer that came out in 1989. And they believe this because of some anime. There's some anime that does that, you know, which I've never seen. You know, they actually believe this. Christian actually believes that they are the reincarnation of a CPU goddess, and that they are in a three-way marriage with one of their OCs named Magi-Chan, who's another electric hedgehog, and Mewtwo from Pokemon. And yeah, it's ridiculous, you know. Just, this is, and these are, and the reason why Christian believes this is because somebody convinced him. You know, there's a notorious troll called the Idea Guy, is the one that convinced him that this shit was real. Apparently that was also, the Idea Guy was the person to convince Chris to become a, you know, trans woman as well, right? It's like, it's kind of sad and disturbing, and I can't help but think that, you know, if these people just would have left them alone, this wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't have a 39-year-old man, you know, raping his 80-year-old mother, you know, repeatedly, allegedly. That's what happened, you know. It looks like Chris actually did it. Christiane actually did it. You know, there's audio of her basically admitting as to raping his own mother multiple times, right? But here's the thing about that, you know, are we going to find out that somebody talked him into that? You know? I don't know. If you listen to that audio, the person that he's telling it to doesn't seem to be horrified or objecting to it or anything like that. You know, I don't know enough about that, so I can't really say. I guess that'll come out in the police investigation, right? The police right now must be having a great time going through the wiki, you know, trying to find motivations for this and building a psychological profile, shit like that. I mean, you know, they've got all the fucking information they need. And I don't know. I think Christian's got. I don't know. I mean, the thing is, any halfway decent lawyer would be able to get Christian into an institution, right? Problem is, Christian is broke. Christian has zero money. And the thing is, there's another thing. Another thing that people debate on the farms there is whether or not you should be giving Christian money, because people would donate. Christian had a Patreon and stuff like that. People would donate, and then Christian also gets, he gets money from disability, right? And everybody's like, don't give Christian money. And it's like, well, do you think anybody's going to hire Christian? Do you think some person like this is capable of holding down a job? Hell no. All right. So that's one thing. But Christian has zero cash. So Christian is not going to be able to hire a decent lawyer. So, he's going to have to make do with whatever public defender they give her. And, but still, any halfway decent lawyer would be able to get her into an institution. And that's really where Christian belongs, And the thing is, we can blame many people for this. They blame Christian's parents. Apparently her parents didn't give her the help she needed. And, her mother herself has lots of problems as well. Abuse and shit like that, right? They could blame them. They could blame Christian herself, There are plenty of autistic people, neurotypical people, who are able to hold down employment and have halfway decent lives where they don't sexually assault people, stuff like that. Plenty of high functioning autistic people go off and are able to make something of themselves and live decently and be proud of themselves, right? So that's another thing, So they can blame them, but I think we really need to square some of that blame on the people that have just been exploiting this person for their own personal enjoyment for the last 15 years. And, the thing is, I'm one of them, right? I have been reading about Christian for probably since 2016 is when I first heard of Christian. And I've been kind of following along in the story and, posting on Reddit, stuff like that. I never trolled Christian. I never, there are two camps. There's the people who say just watch and don't get involved. And then the other people who actively get involved, they call these people the weens, these weens who get involved who either try to help or fuck up Christian, right? There's genuinely people that try to help. There were people that tried to set up revenue streams for Christian, whether it was through Etsy shops or stuff like that, or selling her webcomic, that kind of thing, or making little medallions and selling them, stuff like that. And then another guy named Null who was trying to help him with his help her with their finances and that kind of thing, running the Patreon and managing her email account. So that's another thing. Christian is incapable of doing any of this stuff. Christian couldn't even manage her own email because people would keep signing her up her email for spam and shit like that. She couldn't even manage that shit. She had to have somebody else do it. This is someone that's not capable of taking care of themselves, right? So there were people trying to help her. And then there was just armies and armies of other people who just continuously trolled her over and over and over. And, so I never did any of that. But I have been fascinated with just this whole thing and fascinated with the life of Christian. And I feel kind of bad myself for contributing, just watching it, I think. Just going to those going to the fucking Quickie Farms and reading stuff, or going to the fucking wiki, or reading through all the comic. I read through all of Sonichu, stuff like that. I had to force my way through it. It's not very good, and I even feel a little guilty myself. It's like, maybe just that me just being aware of this and not doing anything, not standing against it might have contributed just a little bit to this, and I feel sad. And I hope everybody out there, all you people on Quickie Farms, I hope you feel sad too. You guys contributed to this, and real people got hurt. And, we need to do better, folks. We got to be adults. When you see somebody like this, like Christian, you got to understand, it's like, dude, don't ruin their lives, man. Just leave them alone, Seriously, you know, YouTube is filled with lolcows like this, right? People who could be potential lolcows, right? The internet is filled with them. Leave these people alone, you know? Let them just live their lives. And it's like, man, how empty does your life have to be when the only way that you can gain any joy is to just fuck up somebody else's life like this, to the point where they're like abusing their own mother. This shit's wrong. It's wrong, folks. So, I don't know. If you want to know what's going on, I mean, I guess it's too late at this point. People are going to be studying Christian. That's the other thing. Christian is going to outlive us all. There's going to be people writing their, like, you know, theses in fucking psychology on Christian for decades to come. And it's only a matter of time before somebody makes a movie out of them. Right. I don't know. It's a fucked up situation all around. So that's all I got, folks. Adios.